Okay, today's episode, I have Mason Dorner. He is an old friend of mine. He started out at Disney as a 24-year-old digital marketing expert. Then he left that company and started with a startup that eventually got $1 billion valuation. He's one of the only unicorn founders that I've interviewed so far, but he has such a depth and breadth of experience. And he has agency. He's getting ready to spin off a medical agency. He has a European wine brand that's killing it online. There's a lot of lessons in this episode and you will enjoy it. Let's get into it. Cool. All right. So I'll start the intro. Mason Dorner, Ascendant. You are one of the most. You are the most successful person I've had on this channel, and you are a unicorn maker. I met you a couple of years ago when you were presenting about how you do your meta ads, and you taught me and my group at EO a lot about how to run meta ads. You've done it for Disney. You've invested in other companies. You launched a wine brand, which I've subscribed to. So you got a great background, and I have a ton of questions for you. Probably not enough to get through this whole thing, but we'll do what we can. All right. Good to see you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Man, appreciate the accolades. I'm sure you're going to get somebody more successful than me in the very near future. And thanks for supporting the wine brand, obviously, as well. We definitely, appreciate everybody that buys our product.
Yeah, man, that's very good. And so where can we start? Like, there's so much happening in digital marketing, AI, and everything's changing so fast. Mm-hmm. And you're so good at the consumer side too. Like I'm doing Leadly with a lot of B2B, and mm-hmm. we're starting to kill it. And this YouTube is really helping us a lot too. What do you see happening in the marketplace with digital media, digital marketing, and ads and traffic and conversion?
Yeah, and so in our agency too, we're 50% e-commerce, 50% B2B. So we kind of live in both spaces. I'm one of those rare cases where I've done both and can do kind of both with equal proficiency. So I can talk to both as we're going through this. But, there's a couple big changes. Obviously, AI has a massive impact on what's going on in the ad world right now. People are starting to use AI for creative, for copywriting. There's some AI platforms that people are trying to use to run their ads. I would say on the AI front, it's great. For copywriting, it's super useful. For audience research, it's super useful. Saves me a ton of time there. It's not quite there yet in my opinion, in terms of having like AI generated videos as your ads. Like it's 80% there, 90% there, but like people can tell. And the results that we've seen when I've run those ads for some of our clients are not great. Like people want to see real people. I think for some stuff it works. Like for B2B services, it can work a little bit better because there's no physical product in the frame. But when you're trying to get, even then it's iffy. But when you're trying to get like an AI avatar to handle a physical product, it just doesn't work. So for audience research, great. Copywriting, great. Reporting and talk to your data stuff, great. Not quite there for generating video. I would say you can get some good graphics out of it. So there's kind of a line, right? New tech hits the market. It's always like the hot new buzzword and people kind of oversell it. It's great. People are still necessary. There's some things it works well for, some things it doesn't. So, that's kind of the big change. After that, Meta has rolled out a massive update recently, which in my opinion is the worst update they've ever rolled out.
I saw that. I think I saw you commenting on it too. Like you guys, especially on the consumer side, probably in the Black Friday. They did this right before Black Friday, right?
Yeah, it was like the end of October, like less than 30 days to adjust. And yeah, it wreaked havoc on a lot of accounts. And the concept of it is good. When it works, it will be a better mousetrap. The problem with Meta, though, is they tend to roll out stuff half-baked and then figure it out after it's live. And so we saw ads that were working. Their CPAs literally tripled, CPMs going up. It didn't do it's supposed to be a smarter engine to match the right ad to the right person in real time, which sounds great and is supposed to get you higher conversion rates. The problem is it just doesn't work yet. And we've found success doing the opposite of what their guidance is. Their guidance was let the machine do everything. Don't add in any targeting, fewer campaigns, consolidated accounts, lots of creative. Well, that's not any different than their guidance has been for the last year. And so all of our campaigns are already set that way. So if this really worked that way, our stuff should have done better. Instead, it did worse. And the hack that we found to get around it was actually going back to the old school, like hand selected targeting. All of a sudden that's working. I got the same ad for my legacy campaign. whose CPA tripled, duplicated the campaign, relaunched with hand-selected targeting. CPA dropped 70% back down to target. So that's the other big change, and that's driving the third big change I'm talking on. I'll talk about, which is being driven by this. Meta is really expensive. It's really volatile, and there are finally good ad platforms that are not Meta or Google. We're seeing a ton of success with CTV. We're seeing a ton of success with Axon, which is formerly called AppLovin. So there's more channels out there now that are effective, and TikTok, GMV Max campaigns, TikTok Shop campaigns, amazing. So we've gone from 2 platforms to 5 viable platforms. So the spend is getting a lot more spread out.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Like, which is good, right? I mean, we don't have to rely on 1 or 2 platforms anymore. Like, you can hedge your bets and go to a bunch of. Yeah, that's cool. And AI, Meta search, ChatGPT, anything like that you're seeing, those 0-click platforms where you're getting recommendations and nobody's like, how's that?
Yeah. I mean, ChatGPT is gold. I mean, the traffic right now is free. And if you're the number 1 recommendation in a category for ChatGPT and it puts your product right there in their feed, that's super, super valuable. You know, they're kind of betaing how much they do that, but like they just integrated with Shopify checkout as well. So that's going to be the next frontier. You know, I don't think traditional SEO is going to die. Like, nothing ever dies. Just new stuff comes in and it may diminish a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely the next frontier, and I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, that's cool. I don't know if you saw my post this morning, but I got another one of our company's top recommendation on ChatGPT this morning.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we got the formula down now about like the amount of power, backlinks, mentions, citations, and now Reddit's in play. Like, we're heavy into Reddit and making, getting mentioned and recommended there, but you got to do it like a ninja, right? Like, you can't just go spam Reddit. You got to be really intentful about it and add value. So we figured that part out, and that's really helping with AI and ChatGPT.
Yeah, absolutely. With Reddit, it's interesting because it was kind of this forgotten about platform for so long. I mean, not that it doesn't have a ton of users, but from a marketing perspective, it's just sort of been buried. And kind of was the place for like the nerds of any given niche or topic to hang out. And now all of a sudden it's super important. Like you said, we've done the same thing with our wine brand. We've spent a bunch of time building our Reddit thread up on there. And yeah, all of a sudden, like it matters for marketers. So they need to start paying attention to Reddit.
Yeah, for sure. And adding value and not just spamming, and don't try to put your links in there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because the AI is going out there and searching and picking up names and brands and companies and then adding recommendations. It doesn't even need links. So. Right. Yeah, cool. So your wine brand is on Shopify, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What's anything you could say about Shopify? What's happening with Shopify, and now that it's versus last year?
There's not too much different that really comes to mind. We love the platform. We won't work with any e-commerce sellers that aren't on Shopify. Yeah. It is the dominant platform. I own a ton of stock in it. I'm like a total fanboy for the business. We've utilized, a lot of our customers utilize Shopify Capital. We've utilized it. Like, we went out and shopped actual like credit lines and bank loans and stuff. And Shopify, you would think you would pay for the convenience, but they're super competitive. So, I mean, that's a great tool available to a lot of our clients that they use just for floating inventory orders and stuff like that. I mean, again, they're becoming just more and more of a great, kind of all-in-one ecosystem. So
yeah,
they're always improving, always adding stuff. The GPT checkout integration is probably the big thing.
That's cool. I like that. And we use Shopify Capital too. I mean, that's so super convenient when they see all your orders and your merchant processing in their hand. You can't have third-party merchant processing. You got to use them for merchant processing to get that capital availability. But when you use them, and then when you apply, they immediately, like within a day or two, will all of a sudden put a couple $100,000 in your bank account. And
exactly.
That helped us get through a couple different periods too as well. And very convenient. And they just do the payback on their own schedule. You don't even have to touch it. Like, that's been amazing for some smaller brands that are trying to scale. I'm glad you brought that up.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've got 3 or 4 customers that have used it. And again, it's predominantly for inventory float, because with e-com, cash flow is a challenge. You can have a super profitable business, but all of a sudden you got to put a $500,000 payment down to get your inventory, and you're going to get paid back, but you got to front that $500,000. For those situations, it's super, super useful tool.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's that can be very helpful when you're floating. We were in the same position, floating hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of inventory, and then sometimes it takes 30, 60, 90 days to get that back. But and then the Shopify stock also. just amazing how like it skyrocketed. And like when I was, 2014 and I came back from Vegas, everybody's like, 2016, everybody's like Shopify, Shopify, Shopify. So I told everybody, I said, everybody's using this platform for ecom, like everybody. And smart ones still thank me today. It went through the roof. And it used to be you have to buy all these other add-on apps, and they started making it integrated and part of their ecosphere, right? So you don't have to pay for a ton of third-party apps if you don't have to, or don't want to.
Yeah, absolutely. The one third party I would pay for, or not this one specifically, but something in this realm, is an attribution platform. So either Triple Whale or Northbeam or Polar, just because like we talked about earlier, we've gone from 2 good platforms to 5 good platforms. And then there's even fringe networks, like Reddit ads, X ads. I mean, you could have your traffic coming in from 7, 8, 9 different places, and understanding your attribution, it becomes really, really important in that ecosystem, because Facebook will overcount orders. Google will overcount orders. They'll double count each other's orders. So that's the one thing I would pay for, is an attribution platform, so that you actually understand where your incrementality is coming from.
That's a good point. And what's the percentage increase by having an attribution platform on average? Would you see uplift or improvement in ROI when you apply an attribution platform like that?
Yeah. So, I mean, a little bit of a loaded question. It depends on scale and how many platforms you're on. The use case that got us into using these platforms with every client is we had an ecom client. They were scaling. Meta was showing, and this is about 2 years ago, Meta was showing amazing, actually longer, probably 3-4 years ago, but Meta was showing really amazing results. And so we kept pouring gas on the fire, but the store revenue wasn't going up even close to in proportion to the Meta spend, how much that was going up. And so that's where we identified, okay, something is off here. And at the time, $500 a month for an extra platform, especially for a small ecom business. I mean, these guys were doing upwards of $500,000 a month. So that I say small with, air quotes, but $500 a month, it was something the client didn't really want to invest in. And so we showed them this. We're like, hey, we need to get a handle on this. And it just showed that Meta had way, way lower incrementality than what Meta's performance was showing. And I think we ended up reducing the Meta spend about 40%. And reallocating that over to Google, because it showed that Google had higher incrementality than what Google's reporting was showing. So there's not like a baseline, but I can tell you once you're spending, I recommend people, once they're spending over $50K a month, to have one of these platforms. And even honestly, if you're on more platforms, like if you're on more channels, more ad channels, that makes it more necessary as well.
So $50K a month is where you start justifying the price for these?
Yeah, because it's $500 to $1,000 a month. I mean, you could start it earlier, but also you don't see the incrementality degrade nearly as much south of $50,000. So if you're at $50K, let's say you're spending $20K on Google and $30 on Meta. Like that's not crazy, but the incrementality degrading when you start spending, $60, $90, $100K on Meta, it starts to get a lot more aggressive, once you get to those higher spend levels.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Same thing with Google. They'll start jacking up your cost per click unnecessarily, all that stuff. So yeah, that's kind of why we draw the line at that level. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's amazing you're spending that much money and they still if you don't have a third party app, they'll take advantage of you and just like, how about Hyros? Any Hyros, or is that more coaches and consultants kind of thing?
Yeah, we've used Hyros. It's been a couple of years. So full transparency, we used Hyros in the early days and we didn't love it. It was really difficult to install, difficult to use, difficult to keep data flowing. I know everything I've read about them recently is great. The founder is a solid, very smart dude. So I think it has changed. So that's why we don't use Hyros, but I think we were just early on that. So that's kind of the why behind that. My understanding now, though, is that it is a solid platform.
Yeah. I'm seeing that Alex getting a lot more better reviews and breaking into a smaller markets. Like now he's got it. So he's touting that like the installation and configuration is so much easier now, which I guess was a struggle before. So yeah, that's why I asked about that.
Yeah, we're predominantly Triple Whale and Northbeam are our two go-tos. But again, that's just because that's what we got comfortable on, and we were probably too early, in the Hyros days.
Yeah, gotcha. Cool. What's exciting now? What you got that's you're working on? Anything that's like that you see coming in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean, so two things that we're working on that I'm most excited about. One is the wine company. You know, we spent years building other people's companies for them. So to have something that's our own is just a really cool, exciting thing. Because agencies they're good lifestyle businesses, but it's tough to sell them for anything worthwhile versus an e-com business or a software business. You get good multiples, you can scale them up a lot more. And so we always wanted to have that. And so when we finally found the right product and the right partner, you know, that was really exciting to get that off the ground. And it gives me my own sandbox to play in, which is really cool. So we spend multiple six figures on ads through our own ad account. And now anything that I want to try for one of our clients, I can go try it there first with my own dollars. I don't have to sell somebody on it. I don't have to get approval. I just go do it. And so I just have so much more testing latitude, that then if something works, we cascade that back down to all of our clients. So that's been a big boost for the business. And it's just fun to work on a brand. It's fun to build something, sell a physical product you can hold that people like. So that's probably what I'm most excited about. Second thing, for 2026, we're pivoting into a new vertical as an agency. So we're actually going to be moving into the medical space. So historically, we've been B2B lead gen and e-commerce. And then each of those are like 40%. We've gotten 10 to 20% of what I'll call like the other bucket. But we've had a few dentists, MRI clinics, things like that come through our door here and there. And we've done a really good job with them and just really gotten kind of I'll call it the local service template dialed in. I mean, like we've worked with a bunch of big roofers too. And the approach for a roofer versus a dentist office is really not that different. It's, you know, person searching for X service in Y city. So we've got a really good template there, and we've just identified a soft spot in terms of the marketing skill within the medical space. Most people that go to that space are, from a service provider perspective, like the marketer, they're usually like solopreneurs. It's like a one-man show. Most of them don't do a good job. Most dentist offices, you know, estheticians, things like that have been burned by the people that have run their ads. Because we audit, you know, we probably run 100 audits a year on ad accounts. And in that space, there just seems to be the lowest level of skill of marketer. And I think that the kind of people that aren't skilled, they go towards those smaller business owners because they know that they're going to be able to pull the wool over their eyes. So we've identified a soft spot there. We had great success. I mean, we've got a client that is a self-pay MRI clinic, like similar to like Prenuvo. And we came on board with them. We took over from their previous agency. We cut their CPA by 40% and we tripled the number of book scans in like 120 days. And so we saw that, like, okay, there's something here. In addition to just all the local stuff we've done, we've got a few dentists and stuff. So we just kept having these great case studies. And we're like, this is where we need to go next. And it wasn't something we ever set out to do. We always just kind of look for the opportunity. And then when it presents itself and it makes sense, we'll go there. Because about half the software companies that we work for are medical software companies. So we've been playing in this space for a while. And finally, we're hyper focusing on it. So we're rolling out a new brand name. We're rolling out a new team that's separate from our Ascendant team, and going to be focusing on kind of building a separate pod or a separate division that services the, call it, elective medical space.
That's smart. That was going to be my next question. Is this going to be Ascendant/medical, but you're creating a whole brand name around it? So
yeah, it's going to be owned by Ascendant. It all rolls up to the same umbrella company, same bank accounts, but it's going to be a different team, different brand name. You know, it's important to kind of like pick a niche and focus on it and speak to your customer and not try to speak to everybody. So we felt like it was important to have this be its own thing. And we want the clients to know that it's its own thing too, that you are getting a focused team that just does this.
Yeah, that's smart. Because I remember, like, even in starting out, everybody's like, pick a niche, pick a niche. And like I always say, my niche is like successful companies. Like, you know, that's how, like, if you're already successful, we'll help you. I help rich people get richer. That's my niche. But you really truly do, like, some of the bigger brands that make it really successful when you're just pitching one product, one service, one vertical. You really do get a way better traction and right that.
Yeah, all of our products or our niches have all been added like years apart, very, very slowly. You know, we started with just e-com, and that's all we're going to do. And that's all we did for a while. And then I came from the fintech software world, and I was at that point kind of over it, needed a break from it. But we kept having people from my network come to us whenever they moved to a new company or started a new company. And so finally we started saying yes, because we had the skill level and I'd had enough of a break from it that I was kind of ready to dive back in on the, you know, tech and lead gen side of stuff. But I mean, that addition was probably, it was a year or two apart. And then this is the first time that we've added a vertical officially in probably 3 years, adding the medical space and even services. We used to not do email. We used to just do ads. And then a lot of our clients were failing because they didn't have good email automations and it was affecting the ads. And so we said, okay, well, let's add that on. And so even though now we do several different things, we were very slow and methodical in adding them. So that we could have that focus, have dedicated teams for each one. Because if you scatter and you try to do too much too soon, you try to be everything to everyone, it doesn't work. And I think people maybe look at us now and see, 3 or 4 different agency units and e-com business, and it can look scattered, but all of this stuff was spaced out at least a year apart from each other. All have dedicated teams. All were done in a very methodical manner.
Yeah, and then they all complement each other, and like it's and same thing, like if you're doing the same kind of job for different, companies, you're really still exercising the same part of your brain and making it happen. And one good thing about like at scale, what you're doing and you're getting all that data from different companies, like that's really valuable right there. Mm-hmm. Like you said earlier, being able to like do those tests on your own companies and then roll that out and look at the data. And then whenever you bring on a new client in, you already have data to know what works.
Yeah, it's a huge advantage. And even just from the mindset, most agency owners have never owned anything but an agency. They haven't dealt with overhead. They haven't dealt with the pain of missing your sales goal or there not being enough money in the bank account. Like that's stuff that we understand. And so I think just having that understanding of that empathy builds a whole nother level of trust with the operators that we work with.
Yeah, that's good. It's like co-CXO services, helping them scale because most business owners are really good at like the thing and grinding but they're not good at everything. So
right.
Yeah. Very cool. So what about like you have such a big background, like you've done so many amazing things, like the Disney part like fascinated me because when I first met you, it's like, God, this guy did the Disney ads. Like that must have been huge. Like can you tell us a little bit about that and how that helped your experience and get you where you are now?
Yeah, I mean that was definitely a pivotal point in my career, and I would say that's kind of like what launched me and opened the door to the next couple of opportunities, and even where I am now. So I joined Disney as a contractor. Everyone has to come in as a contractor, so you're on like a 6-month contract, and they'll renew it a couple of times. And then when you get to 18 months, like you're done. They either have to find a spot for you full time, or you're just done with your contract because they can only do 3 terms. So you're on a prove it contract when you come in there. So I came in there, was the youngest person on the team. This is still relatively early in my career. I want to say I was like 24 or something like that. And my boss didn't even know I was that young. He actually was like, it was like my birthday and he was like, how old are you turning? I was like, oh, I'm turning 25. He was like, I really hired someone that young. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I think it was worked out, but everyone else on the team was like 30, 35 plus, at the time. And so I got in there young. I had a lot to prove and I had the smallest portfolio of business, the worst accounts, the worst lines of business. And, they say like that, I want to say I think the phrase is, luck is when like massive opportunity meets massive preparation. So I saw the opportunity I had in front of me. And even though I had these small rinky dink accounts that nobody else wanted to work on, I still, really applied myself. And then the most senior team member who had the biggest book of accounts had to go out on maternity leave. And so because I was the person that had the smallest book, it made sense to move me versus the people and I was newer versus the people that had been working on their accounts for years and stuff like that. So I went from the smallest book to the biggest book literally overnight, but I was ready for it because I just was treating it as that opportunity to grow. And I knew that something was going to come along that would really launch me. And so I got to take over the biggest book. And again, saw that like, this is another opportunity. This is like a make it or break it moment. This is $30 million in ad spend. It's hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue. If I do a good job here and if I can find ways to improve this, like I'll have made my mark and like I'm set. And I was able to find an opportunity there, this is back when it was a lot harder to get your data all in one place and a lot harder to get down funnel data and revenue data. And so what I found was the person that was running the account, they didn't really use revenue data. And the reason was it was really tough to get the revenue from Google to Adobe to this other platform called Marin. And so to get your revenue was just a pain in the ass, especially at the keyword level. Like we could see it at the campaign level easily. And it was a lot of extra work to get everything synced up and keep it synced up to optimize on revenue. But I went ahead and I was like, I'm just going to do the extra work because somebody that buys a hotel package is a drastically different value than somebody that buys a pair of tickets for a day. And so I got revenue flow. I did the extra work to get revenue flowing into my accounts, and I was able to grow those accounts 30, 40% a year. Just by having that revenue visibility. No one else is really willing to do the extra work to get that visibility. And so it was like picking money up off the floor because I was willing to do that. And so I ran those accounts for about 4 months. She came back, and then we went through a reorg, and they gave the accounts right back to me. And so over the course of working on those accounts, I doubled them in about 2.5 years. And initially they were like, if you can improve these things like 5 to 10% a year, you're doing really good, because they're mature businesses. They've existed for a long time. They've been worked on for a long time. The accounts are years old. So that was kind of like the sort of the story arc there. Got to work on a lot of really cool stuff with all the different platforms while I was there. Because we had the highest level of support with Google, with Meta. Like there's features now that advertisers use every single day that I was literally like the first person in the world to run. Like the dynamic ads for hotels. Like if you go on Expedia and then you see the hotel that you looked at with your dates, and you'll see a couple more hotels in the same city as what you were looking at. We were the first one to run that, and I was the guy that like helped Meta build that. And so Disney was the pilot company, and I was the person at Disney that piloted that. And now every hotel chain and every travel site in the world uses that tech. So it was a lot of really cool experiences like that we got to pioneer and try a lot of new tech just years before anyone else did. And even AI bidding, which is now built into Google. It wasn't built into Google back then. We got a separate platform for it. And that was another thing where like all my coworkers were kind of like, oh, we got to learn a new thing. And oh man, this is going to replace us if it does too well. I leaned in. Again, I had already grown the business, 40% the prior year. I'm like, how am I going to do it again? And so I leaned in super hard to this tech, learned it, adopted it before anyone else. Another 40% gain that year.
Oh, that's awesome. How long were you there?
So I was with Disney, I want to say, I think about 3.5 years. I had the big accounts for about 2.5 of those.
Cool. What an amazing experience for a young, up-and-coming, soon-to-be entrepreneur. And to be doing a huge account like that with that kind of spend.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
It's like once you drop that stat, I've never had trouble getting interviews, never had trouble getting jobs after that, up until I went and started my own company. And even then, when we tell people that now, when people are pitching people, it's just instant credibility. So it was a big kind of milestone and a big transformative moment in my journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, so from there, and then you went, your unicorn maker company, your partner in that was Stax.
Mm-hmm.
And was that right for Disney?
That was right after Disney. And I've always taken a lot of calculated risks in my career. I changed jobs every couple of years whenever I saw there's an opportunity to leg up. And this was the one where everyone thought I was nuts. Friends and family thought it was crazy. People that worked at Disney thought it was crazy because I had to work on a prove-it contract for 18 months just to get the full-time role. And then I basically left 18 months after being in the full-time role. And people
to go to a startup and take risks.
Yeah, and people at Disney, they don't leave. But that's why I left. Again, there was people on my team 10 years older than me doing the same job as me. And I was like, man, like if I'm 10 years down the road and I'm still doing this, like that's a problem. I can't, that's not going to work for me. And because nobody leaves, the opportunity to move up is just super, super limited. So like at Disney, I was operating really a couple levels above my title and above my pay grade because I had the skill and I'm always going to do more, but there was just no opportunity to actually move up. Someone's got to retire, like get hit by a bus or something. And, I went to them and was like, hey, I want a $10,000 raise. Like, I feel like I deserve it. I have incrementally made you 9 figures at this point of extra on top of what you're making. Like, I think you can find 10 grand in the 9 figures that I made you. And the message I got back was, no, go pound sand. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, hard work does not equal progression in these companies. I got to find a different vehicle to get in. So I had a recruiter call me from this tiny little startup that was less than 50 people, wasn't profitable. And they said, but you'll get a piece of the company. And so I said, okay, that sounds like the polar opposite of what I'm doing right now. I'm going to go do that and see if that works out better. And so I took a pay cut to go there, got options in the company. And that's kind of how I got in. And so when I joined, less than 50 people, less than like $1 million in ARR when I joined. So, I mean, just not a lot going on, just very, very early stage. And in 4 years, we went from $1 million in ARR to $100 million in ARR and $1 billion exit. So when I joined, it was like $1 million in revenue and about a $10 million valuation because it's tech. 4 years later, $100 million and $1 billion exit, multiple fundraisers in there. I started as just an individual contributor. I had a little bit of management, under my purview at Disney. I went backwards in pay, backwards in position, and then earned myself up basically into the head of marketing spot.
Wow, that's awesome. And how long did that last?
I was there for 3 or 4 years. That's the longest place I've ever hung out because it kept me interested. I get bored easily, and if I'm not learning and I'm not progressing, I kind of go look for the next thing. But when you look at like that arc of, 10 million to $1 billion in enterprise value, it's like 4 different experiences because every time you raise, it's like a different phase of growth. So like I remember when we did, the raise at 50 million, things changed. We did the raise at 100 million, things changed. We did the raise at 300 million, things changed. And then the final like $1 billion transaction. So I went through, I think 4 transactions with them. And it was like starting over from scratch every time. And so it kept it really, really interesting. And it was also a challenge to me because I was told that most people are only good for one stage of growth at a startup. Good people are worth 2. It's unheard of, or, top 1% of the 1% if you can go through 3 or more stages of growth. So that was another kind of goal that I set. It's like, I wonder if I can evolve and be nimble enough to navigate through, more than 2 stages.
And you did.
Yeah. We were able to do it. It was, like I said, really, really fun journey, ton of great experience. The 2 co-CEOs, brother and sister team, I learned a ton from them on how to run a company, how to build a company, how to raise money, just process operations, relationships. It was the perfect launch pad and the perfect mentors to be under before going and doing my own thing. Cause I was one position removed from them. So I got a crash course in how they were running this, $1 billion company, and I got to see it up close.
That's so cool. I love that. And a lesson learned there to like companies and corporations are notorious for this. You got a superstar on your team. And for 10 grand, they could have kept you, but they didn't because they couldn't break out of the box of like, we don't pay above X for Y. Like this just doesn't happen. Like I've seen so many good people, companies lose good people because they wouldn't give them a little extra 5 or 10 grand. Like that probably only would have held you over for a little while longer. Still, because knowing how entrepreneurial you are, but they could have bought some time at least. But companies do that sometimes. Like if you had a rock star on your team, pay them. Please. Like I've seen so many people. Everybody's dying for a rock star, and once you find one, like you just got to do whatever you can to take care of them.
Yeah. And that was something we did the opposite of at Stacks, and that I've taken into our businesses now. Is even though I took a pay cut to go to Stacks, they came up like 25% or 30% from what they wanted to pay for that role. So I still took a haircut of about that size too, but we met in the middle. So, I mean, they came up for me to get me in the door, and then I took a haircut as well. But I noticed that they paid the good rock stars really, really well. They didn't, overpay everybody, but for the people, the department leaders and the rock stars made above market rate for the area that we were in. And it was a success formula. And I saw that the output from these people is double, triple someone who's average that's only a little bit cheaper. And so that was I saw the test case of both, being in the box versus overpaying for rock stars. And overpaying for rock stars works way better. So, I mean, we do that with our businesses now. It doesn't make sense, what some of the people on our team make if you look at what they were going to get, what they get at like a W-2 job. But it makes sense for us because they're so much more productive than if we hired 3 C players to replace them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Whenever you find a rock star, say do everything you can to keep them happy, not just financially, but keep them motivated and feeling valued and part of it, the winnings. I ask everybody this: if you had to start over tomorrow, you could find yourself starting from scratch. You got no money, minimal money. What would you do if you were starting on now? What would you do to make the biggest impact, the quickest to get going in business, whatever how would you start over right now today?
Yeah. So, I mean, if I had to start over, I'm going to do something service based. And I feel like this is a popular answer right now. So apologies if you've heard this one before, but I would go into something service based with low overhead. AI is coming. I wouldn't restart trying to build my career in tech because AI is taking out the entry level stuff. Like folks like you and me that have been in it for a long time, we're going to be fine because the AI kind of sits below us. It's not replacing you and me. It's replacing, those entry level developers, entry level marketing managers, copywriters, stuff like that. And so I wouldn't go down that path. I would go something service based, probably like something in the trades probably, but that didn't require certification. Like this is going to sound crazy, but I know a couple guys that have changed careers into pressure washing. And like one dude, he's like an ex-con, and this is what he did after he got out of prison because he just couldn't get a job anywhere. He scraped together a few $100 to like buy a pressure washer. Started with a beat up car and a portable pressure washer. His company is a multi-7-figure company now. He's got teams. He's got multiple trucks. And so he's a few years in on the journey. But I know another guy that's gotten into the space recently, and same thing. He's starting just doing the jobs himself. He's already hiring trucks, already hiring teams. It doesn't have to be that. I mean, like it sounds funny, but like dog shit pickup is a great business. That's like a new thing. You pay $20-$30 a week. Somebody comes to your house and, picks up your dog doo. There's no overhead to that besides a trash can and a car. And you can sign people up. You can get the recurring revenue. So something where I could start and kind of put in the elbow grease myself with minimum overhead. And then once I got a big enough book of business, I'm going to hire somebody to do the day to day. And then at that point, when I have cash flow, I'm going to take all my marketing skills and all my sales skills and then pour it on that business. And then that's where it goes big. Like the first year would probably suck because I'd be doing the labor myself and not growing that fast. Yeah. But being in marketing and sales, you've got a skill set that transcends industries. It's just a matter of finding the product or service you're going to sell.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's easy to get the sales in a service business like that. And I had a mobile dog car wash van. Figuring out more in the back. The other day I was walking around the neighborhood and I was like, damn, I wonder how much they're making. Like, how much does it cost to get your dog washed outside of your house? That can't be cheap. And you can do 5 or 10 of those a day. That's probably, that person's probably failing.
Yeah, mobile haircuts for people is another one. We have that here in Scottsdale. It's like I don't go anywhere to get my haircut anymore. The guy has a Sprinter van. He comes to my house and I just go out and get my haircut in the van. It takes like 30, 40 minutes. It's great. It saves me an hour of back and forth and sitting in a waiting room. And it's a little more expensive. Like it probably costs $30 or $40 more than if you went somewhere, but I feel like the hour is more valuable than that. I mean, that's another one. Like I don't think it's that hard to get, a cosmetology license to cut hair and then go, finance a van and start doing that. I mean, this guy's charging $100 to $150 a haircut and he bangs them out in 40 minutes. And then he services a certain area of the city every day. So he's got his calls back to back to back. I mean, that's another like just great business. If you can, a lot of the name of the game, I think right now is just convenience. If you can take a legacy service and make it more convenient and bring it to someone, you'll absolutely kill it.
That's a good point. And it's so easy to and it's cheap to get attention on those businesses, relatively speaking. What's your outlook on the economy coming into 2026? Are you bullish, bearish? What do you think's going to happen? Are the tariffs, everything settling down?
Oh man. Yeah. I'll try not to get too political. I'm in a weird spot of like, I very much straddle the fence. I'm registered as an independent, so I don't like totally align with like either side of stuff. What I can tell you from my experience, so far the tariffs have been brutal. They have completely wrecked our e-com customers. I mean, that's half of our business. And it's easy to say, we'll just make the product in America. We have a company, they're one of the biggest snowboard helmet and bike helmet manufacturers in the world. They're like top 3, top 4. And, you can't just pick up and move that production from China to the US at the snap of a finger. It's years that takes. And also they own the equipment over there. Like when you set up manufacturing, a lot of times you got to buy the equipment. Sure, another company's running it, but it's like, they've got all this CapEx over there. It's not a matter of finding just a new factory here in the US that can make this stuff. And their margin's like 30%. Well, China had a 30% tariff. Boom. All of a sudden, this business that was a great business for years is no longer viable. Now, fortunately, the tariffs have been back down and they're they're diversifying their sales and they're starting to sell into other countries and stuff. But the tariffs have made life really, really hard for the e-com world. And who it's benefited, honestly, is Amazon and Walmart. They have the scale to absorb this stuff. They have tons of loss leader products. The small guys in e-com, it's really hurt them a lot. And I see that the grand concept of how the tariff money is going to be reinvested could offset that, but it hasn't been done yet. And I don't love the idea of, basically stimulus checks from the tariff money, because all that money was taken from small business owners, and then you're going to distribute it out to, lower income levels, which, everyone needs to be taken care of course. But this money is being extracted from business owners who are hurting and almost going out of business. And then it's being redistributed to people who don't pay, a lot of people who don't pay any taxes. And so I'm like, this isn't how this is supposed to be used. It's still hurting small business. It's hurting the economy. I think it's going to drive more inflation. Now, if they're able to significantly reduce the income tax or eliminate it with the tariff money, that changes it. Because then I think you're going to have more people spending with these businesses who are carrying the brunt of this. But currently, we're a year in on this. We've had several clients straight up go out of business at this point because it's been a long road. So I'm pretty disgruntled with the tariff situation. It's just not being executed the way I think we were sold on it, or on a fast enough timeline. It's been erratic. You can't have tariffs change from 10% to 40% to 30%, month to month. Just people can't do business that way.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of chaos in the marketplace like that. And I hate that the big guys don't feel it like, the smaller merchants and, entrepreneurs do, because like you said, it takes a while for them to recover, readjust, and repricing and all that.
I support the concept of it. I haven't seen it executed, in my opinion, the way that we were sold on it.
Well, I'm an optimist by nature, and I did build my last company during the Trump one, and all that. We've gone from Obama, everything was tight, businesses weren't spending, and then 2016 came, and then all of a sudden businesses had tax incentives to spend, and then all of a sudden it just caused a huge boom, and that's when we had a huge rise at that time. And I'm optimistic and hopeful that's what we're about to see again in the marketplace, that the businesses are going to start spending it again.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for as well, because that's when we started our agency and we felt all the things that you were feeling. The clients had money to spend, they were increasing their advertising every month, which is good for us. So I'm hopeful that comes around, but I'm getting a little bit pessimistic because we're, close to a year in, and I've just seen so many people in that time frame just go out of business. Things get good, but the people have gone under. Maybe new businesses will start, but it just creates a down cycle in the market and down cycles take a little while to come back. At least for e-com. Tech's still going to do great. Medical obviously still doing great. That's part of why we're going there, because e-com is in a little bit of a down cycle. So, what is a sector that's doing great and that's unaffected? Medical's doing great. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like we've gotten what we were promised just yet. I'm hopeful for it in 26, but it hasn't come to fruition yet.
I'm hoping the pain's almost over, because there was such a freewheeling spending and inflation happening, and Argentina just went through it too, and they're just now coming out of it. I think we're in that part of Argentina was in the dip on the recovering from inflation and everybody holding on to cash. And I'm optimistic that we're about to see another boom if everything goes well. I mean, all things aligned, but So okay, cool. And I like the medical thing because I'm in here in Florida. There's elective medical and medical everything here on every block. There's either pay for MRI. There's a facial place on every other corner. There's and people are spending tons of money for this. This is elective and cash out of pocket. So I like that angle of that.
Yeah, Scottsdale too. I think we got to have more Botox studios per capita than maybe any city except for LA. It's crazy.
Yeah, Arizona. I love it. Well, good for you, man. Well, I'm glad we got to get together, and it's been a while. Have we missed anything? Do we want to mention some brands or some projects or upcoming anything besides the medical version of Ascendant?
I think that's all the big stuff. The two things I'll punch up. Our e-com brand is Medley Wine Company. We're organic, clean, zero sugar, zero additive wine from Europe. It is literally the cleanest, best wine you can get. You know, you go to Europe, you drink the wine over there, you can drink every day and not feel a thing negative. You feel great all the time. You come here, you drink US wine, you drink up the next day. Our product basically solves that. And we've been able to bring it here. The reason it's not widely accepted in the US, it's expensive to ship wine across the ocean in bottles. Our wine would be $30 or $40 a bottle if it were in glass. We found this revolutionary pouch packaging, and the pouch packaging reduces our shipping cost, reduces the carbon footprint, all that by about 80%. So we can sell $30 to $40 a bottle organic, zero sugar, amazing Mediterranean wine over here in the US for about $9 a bottle. So check us out. drinkmedley.com is the website. I'm sure you're going to love it. We got something there for everybody. And then on the marketing side, so for my B2B folks, especially in the medical space, White Coat is the name of our new endeavor. It's not really new. Again, we've been doing medical for a long, long time. We're just finally focusing on it and building a business around it. But it's whtcoat.com for White Coat Agency.
Awesome. That's good. And I can attest to the Medley wine. And you're right about the European wine. It is much better. It doesn't. Not only does it taste better, but also you don't have whatever the hangover and you feel. But we say the same thing about the bread here too. Like the bread, the wine is like you go over to Europe, you stay there for a week or two, you feel amazing. You come back here, you feel worn down if you're eating bread and drinking wine.
Yeah, there are 76 approved additives that can be added to wine and not listed on the label in the United States.
And they're totally
illegal in Europe.
Totally illegal. And there is a thing to it. Like I used to be like, nah, that's not true. But I lived in Paris last year, and I totally ate bread every day and drank their wine. It felt fine. So
yeah, it's the way to do it. So if you can't go live over there, you can bring some of it to your door with Medley.
Yeah, I'm going to send that Medley to somebody for a Christmas gift. I know a couple wine lovers. So that's
amazing.
Yeah. Awesome, brother. All right. Well, good seeing you, man. And again, you're probably the most successful and the only unicorn maker I know on this channel. So thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Man. Thanks for having me on. This is fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Good seeing you, brother.